All right, well, let's assess India and China's economy as well with our next guest, Andy Lau, independent economist. He joins me live in our Hong Kong studios right now. And you are often known for your contrarian views. Now, the market expects that Rajan is going to come in and keep rates steady at 7.25%. Are you going to be contrarian today?
I think that the way I understand India works is that it's try to protect the growth. So that's the primary objective. So now with the Fed the tapering on hold, the pressure is off a bit. So I actually expect that India would take some tightening off, and because there's a lot of political pressure to support growth. That, by the way, is the wrong thing to do. So
why would you say it's the wrong thing to do?
India's problem is largely internal. It's basically it doesn't have a supply side build up over the last decade. It's been focusing on the demand side, cheering on these liquidity-driven consumption and so forth. And it's prone to inflation because it doesn't have a supply side. So now without liquidity, the hot money will leave. It's a matter of time, right? So you have to be ready for that. For India, there's only one way to be ready for that, is to contract the domestic credit formation. So basically to depress domestic demand so you can balance your trade deficit.
And of course, the criticism about India is that its infrastructures are infamously backward, that it really restricts the labor market flows, and also there's a lot of entry barriers to product market.
I think India has a huge supply side issue. One is market competition. It's dominated by a few family businesses. The other is lack of infrastructure. So focusing on demand, focusing on credit, that's what the Indian government has been doing in the last 10 years. It has led to where it is. It's a huge amount of debt and very dependent on hot money, lots of inflation. So India is heading towards some sort of crisis, regardless of what they will do in the next few days.
And we certainly saw hints of that, especially when there was speculation that Fed would start tapering.
Yeah, that's right.
But what about China? You know, does it have its act together? If you look at India and China, is it better set up for the next decade?
China is different in the sense that it's an overinvestment story. It's the opposite to what India is doing. So the overinvestment led to this huge leverage in the corporate sector. So the corporate sector as a whole is cash negative. So it needs hot money in a different way. It's not like India. It's basically for consumption and so forth.
And even though it's trying to stop this hot money circulating in China, the PBOC trying to seize that liquidity up in June, and it ended up triggering some really high rates. But shadow banking is almost in place of the PBOC with restriction. What about the dangers of shadow banking?
I think that China is much more like Korea in '97. It's an overinvestment story, over leverage in the corporate sector. In China, it's also there's a local government over leverage. So something has to happen. Basically, now you can prolong this by piling up more debt. In the last few years, this unique thing called the trust industry happened. That is actually just like the U.S. junk bond, and it's financing the corporate sector because the banking sector became reluctant to keep funding this investment push. So this trust industry now is becoming ballooned to like 10 trillion RMB in size, and it's basically kind of a Ponzi game. So I think something bad is going to happen over the next 12 months.
Well,